Hi, it's so nice to see everyone again virtually. You're on season 4 of Music and Chat with Shirley Ong, and it is the evening today. This episode, I usually broadcast daytime where I am, but guess what? There's always a nice surprise around the corner. Please say hi in the live chat and let us know where you're tuning in from, and don't be backward and coming forward. Remember to put any questions you may have in this live chat here so that I may attend to them as the stream moves along. I'm always grateful for your support, so please subscribe to my channel and like the videos that you enjoy watching, particularly this one. Thanks for being a part of my viewing audience. I shall continue to work diligently for you. I want to say hi to my friends if you're there. I know a few of you are shy guys or shy gals, but please don't be shy. Come say hello. We like to hear from you. It is 8:33 p.m. in Singapore, and we have a lot to plow through today, so let's get on with the stream. I shall perform a piece called Escape for you from my third album, and you can find my music on my Bandcamp store if you're so inclined to listen to and support me. So let me get the synth cam up and I shall play it for you. So that was Escape from my third album, Crossing Paths. Previously on Music and Chat, we looked at immersive audio, AR, VR, and 360 movies. I've got some pictures for you because I showed these which I took from way back in 1991 when I attended Cyber Arts in LA. There I saw Morton Heelick and his Sensorama. Google it, Sensorama. I also donned the earliest VR suit, pretty clunky then, with a Convolvatron 3D audio pumped through the headphones. You can see the two pictures I've got up there. Yet, the mere mention of its name conjures up trepidation and fear in many. Today's guests will tell you that VR is friend and buddy, providing learning opportunities to cast away that negative inner monologue, and encouraging one to try any errand, quest, and challenge and come out of it a different person, a better person. Let's bring in our guests today, Jason Moore, Jill Kirtland, and Jose Ferrer. Jose is joining us from Barcelona in Spain.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Hey, guys.
Hi, Jose,
Hello.
Jason, Jill, and thanks so much for joining us on Music and Chat. So there's so much to cover with the three of you, so I'd like to chat with each of you in this order: Jason, Jill, and then Jose. Viewers, don't forget to put your questions in the live chat. Please don't be shy now. I do see someone I'm not familiar with, Laurie. Laurie, good morning. You must be tuning in from America or Europe, at least in the northern hemisphere. Let us know where you're tuning in from, Laurie. Glad to see you here. All right, Jason, Jill, and Jose, could you please describe to our viewers in one sentence what your work entails? I'll start with the lady, Jill.
Sure. So I do VR for learning, primarily soft skills, or what is also called leadership skills, for corporate training.
Thanks, Jill. Jason?
Hi. I do visual storytelling. So I use virtual reality to blend cinema, live theater, role-playing, and video games into a live experience that puts the audience inside a movie.
Very nice. Jose?
Hi, I'm actually a medical doctor, but I use VR as a therapist to bring some well-being to the public and especially my patients for meditation. I do a lot of guided meditation works and researching on that topic too.
Thanks, Jose. So let's begin with Jason. Gaming is perhaps one of the industries that benefited immediately from VR technology. Why do you think gamers were willing to explore this frontier so willingly, so willingly?
Well, I think it's all about immersion, really. Whether you're watching a movie or playing a game, it's one thing to have everything in front of you on a nice big flat screen, but if you can put a head-mounted display on and suddenly you're inside that world and everywhere you look, the game persists, not just in front of you, but behind you and on top of you and below you. That feeling is really enchanting and exciting. And I think once a gamer or really anybody has that feeling of immersion, it's very compelling, and you want to have more of those experiences.
I'd like to look at the clip that you sent me of your project, Alien Rescue, which everyone should know this. It won the 2021 Raindance Festival Best Multiplayer Experience and was awarded the Best VR Experience of the Year by XR Must magazine as well, last year, I believe. So here's a montage of some of the scenes from various episodes, I would say. Is that right? Various episodes.
I see You have woken from cryostasis. Welcome to the Black Hawk, the Kelosite Research Facility. Your mission. The team is waiting. These Eyebots will accompany you to keep you safe. Or perhaps they'll get you killed. They are unpredictable.
Well, look who's here. How do we even know we can trust him?
I vouch for him, Baxter.
Hey, I told you, I go by Axe now. Shut up.
The Zabanager has the most toxic blood in the galaxy, and these bastards are weaponizing her. We can't let that happen. Everyone split up. Let's see what we can find.
Please, I'm innocent. Let me go.
He's lying.
Your call.
Jason, I've played multiplayer VR games before, but as you mentioned earlier on, Alien Rescue is not your run-of-the-mill VR game, is it? Tell us a bit more about this, please.
Sure. Yeah, I wouldn't even say Alien Rescue isn't really a game. It's a kind of a new form of storytelling that I don't know that's really been explored or presented before. This all comes out of a childhood dream that I had when I saw. So I'm a filmmaker. I should say first and foremost, I'm a filmmaker. I have a degree in theater and a degree and a master's degree in filmmaking. And I've spent most of my career as an independent director, directing TV commercials and TV shows, movies and theater. I've always loved video games. When I was a kid, I think I was about 7 or 8 years old, and I saw Star Wars, the original Star Wars, in 1979, and I saw it. I waited in line with my family to see the movie, and there was a scene where Luke and Leia and Han Solo and Chewbacca were all on the Millennium Falcon, and they were fighting the TIE fighters and blasting, and everybody looked like they were having so much fun. And I remember in that moment thinking that this was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. And not only that, but I desperately wanted to like leap out of my chair in the movie theater and leap into the screen, and I wanted to be there with those characters in that moment. I wanted my own chair sitting next to Luke, and I wanted to shoot the TIE fighters, and I wanted to high five Han Solo. And I think a lot of people have had that experience with when they've watched films or television shows or movies or even games where they wanted to have a deeper relationship with the story. They wanted to go inside the story. And so as a filmmaker, all my life, I've always thought about that feeling of immersion. That's what immersion is, when you feel like you're inside someplace. And I think many filmmakers use various techniques to make their films more immersive. Maybe it's IMAX or 3D. But there's a yearning, I think, for storytellers to really pull the audience really in deeply. And so I've always had that thought about how could I potentially take an audience and put them really inside a movie. And when virtual reality became kind of commonplace, I started thinking about it. I'm also a professor at Brooklyn College, and so I do research as part of my job. And so I started researching around the idea of virtual reality, kind of tinkering with this idea of, I wonder if it would be possible to tell a movie inside VR. Maybe that would help me realize my dream of being able to bring an audience inside the movie, right? Because VR is so immersive. And I started looking at VR stories. There's plenty of VR stories and movies out there, but they all usually share one thing in common, and that is that the characters that are portrayed in these VR movies are all pre-recorded. They're all animations. They've been motion captured or animated in a computer graphic engine, but they're not. They don't really respond to you. You know, they're just like robots talking, and they're just saying lines. And anytime I would be in a virtual space with these characters trying to, you know, be in like this VR movie, I never felt it was real. I never suspended any disbelief because it was so obvious that I was just interacting with basically robots. But I have a degree in theater, and so I thought, well, what if instead of all of these robots around me, what if they were live actors? And what if they would talk back to me and I could talk to them? And so I started experimenting, and I created something called the Meta Movie Project, which is an ongoing series of research experiments and performances focused around best practices for telling stories in VR. And what I discovered was that, in fact, with live actors, you can really start to build a story that feels alive. And so in a meta movie, in Alien Rescue, you play a part. Audiences come in and they role play. We teach our audiences how to do some very light role play. They don't have to memorize any lines. They just have to kind of go with the flow, kind of like maybe a Dungeons and Dragons game or a role-playing game. So we get them trained up, and we basically have one main character called the hero. And this is our audience member who buys a ticket for $30, and they come in and they are like the star of the story. We have 5 live actors who guide the hero on this adventure, on this rescue mission. And then we have 15 other audience members. They wear these little tiny Eyebot avatars that you might have seen in that trailer. We mute them because it's a little bit crazy with everybody talking. So we try to keep the focus on the story. So all 15 of the audiences in the Eyebots are all muted, but they have little lights on their Eyebots that they can flash red and green and yellow. So they do have a visual way to communicate with the cast and the hero, so they're not completely left out of the story. They have agency as well. And Alien Rescue is basically a 60 to 70 minute action adventure story. We're all in VR. The main actors, the actors who've been rehearsing, they lead the way, and the hero and the Eyebots go along with them on this adventure. And the fun thing about Alien Rescue is that not only can you talk to the actors, but we also give you agency to actually do or say whatever you want, like a choose your own adventure story. So when you're in a situation, you can suggest, well, why don't we go over there? And the actors might agree with you, or they might not. They might disagree. You can we have branching storylines, so you can make decisions along the way that change the outcome of the story. So we're trying to give audiences a new type of story, a story where, like I said when I was a kid, you kind of step into the world of the story and experience it from inside. That's kind of what I'm doing with Alien Rescue.
Very nice. So the story quest is clear, though. On entering the movie play, the hero and accompanying sidekicks know that they're there for a certain purpose, and that is to whatever it is at the very end they have to acquire. And along the way, they can somewhat suggest how they could go about getting to the very end. Very nice. I have pictures that you sent me. You mentioned that the co-stars are live actors. They are other players in the play. I've got a picture of that you sent me of 4 of these actors who co-star with you in the movie theatrical play. And for those who are curious, here's this picture of the hero, as Jason mentioned, and the hero is the one second from the right in all your splendor of the garment that you might wear, whether you're he or a she, it doesn't really matter. And your co-stars, the people who go along the journey with you, there are 3 of them at least here. We also have a picture of you, the hero, and the Eyebots that Jason mentioned. As you can see, they resemble drones, from what I understand. They can't communicate with you verbally, but what kind of power do they have then as your accompanying guests as your side?
They kind of serve as like a little squadron of scouts, basically. So oftentimes we encourage the hero and the sidekicks to all work together, because Alien Rescue, it's similar to, like I said, we kind of combine all these forms. So very much like an action adventure movie or a video game, we're on a rescue mission. We're trying to rescue this creature that's being held in captivity, and in order to do so, we have to achieve some quests along the way. And it's a dangerous scenario with kind of scary creatures coming at you and bad guys coming at you. We have a weapons and health and damage system, so there's a lot of tension. And along the way, there are certain things that maybe a hero won't notice, maybe excuse me, an important access card to get through a door, or an elevator shaft that they need to go up. And with the sidekicks can all kind of, the Eyebots can all kind of swarm around and fly around. And if they're all flashing their lights green, then oftentimes the hero will notice, they're busy doing this, but all of a sudden all the Eyebots are swarming and flashing, and they can kind of point out an important passageway or show where an important clue might be. So there's really a camaraderie and a teamwork that goes on, even though the Eyebots can't talk. In fact, there's a secret scene that we only will unveil to the hero if the Eyebot discovers a hidden passageway into a secret lab. There's a tiny little window that you would never really notice if you're human-sized, because it's just a window that's just open a little bit. But when you're a little tiny Eyebot, that window opening is quite alluring because it's quite big for you. And so in a certain moment of the story, if an Eyebot sees that opening and flies through that window, there's a little button that they can push that slides open a big door, and then if the hero were to walk through that door, a whole new scene unfolds. But we only reveal that scene if and when an Eyebot were to discover the opening. So even though these Eyebots don't talk, they have quite a bit of agency to shape and affect the story.
So they're briefed on what the quest is and what to look out, the possibilities to look out for, and how to assist the hero then? We do a couple of things. We have a website where when you buy our ticket, you will see the trailer and you'll read a little bit about the overview of the story. Then once you buy a ticket, we send you a little briefing document to get ready for your mission, as we say it. And it gives you a little bit of a background of the world that you're about to enter in, and it also helps you understand what it means to be a role-playing audience. We don't really even use the word audience in Alien Rescue, because everybody is going along for the ride together. And so we need to prep people this, because not everybody knows what role-playing is or what this thing that we're doing is. So we have to kind of prep them. And then before the show starts, I do a little bit of an onboarding speech that lasts about 3 or 4 minutes. So by the time we all start the experience, everybody knows kind of what's going on. They don't know the details of the mission, of course, that would be giving everything away. But they know enough that they're comfortably situated in the world. They understand what the kind of the rules of engagement are. And that way everybody can have a really fun time. I see. So how many Eyebots do you usually have in one movie episode?
Well, we would like to have as many as possible. Currently, in the state of VR, in the world that I work in, I work on the social VR platform called Neosphere. And so currently there is an upper limit to how many people we can all have in the same VR space at the same time. And so for us, that limit is around 15 Eyebots and the hero, and then all of the rest of us actors. So once we have that big group of people in, we have a pretty good performance with good frame rates. But if we try to get 30 or 50 Eyebots in there, we start to get a lot of lag, and that's not so good. So I'm hoping that as VR technology advances, that we can get even more and more players into the same experience at the same time. It would be my joy to have 100 Eyebots in the world. But for now, 15 is our number.
But if there are other people who would like to participate in a different way from the sidelines, perhaps they can join you on Twitch, can't they?
Yes. This is a fun new aspect to our project. Because we're experimental, we are always iterating and practicing and trying out new elements to this type of storytelling. One of the first experiments that we did was to offer audiences a desktop version. So instead of being in VR, you could have a headphone and microphone on like I have now, and you could actually be a hero or an Eyebot by just using your keyboard and your mouse. So maybe somebody doesn't have VR equipment, but they want to go on the mission, they can do that. That was very successful, and we've had a lot of people engaging with Alien Rescue in desktop. But we know that some people also don't necessarily want a completely interactive story. Some people want to just sit back and relax and just watch and not necessarily have to do any role play or have to move their mouse around or have to deal with locomotion. And so what we did was we created a multicam system that's inside VR so that we can record the experience from 5 or 6 or even 10 different camera angles, like you might do a multi-camera TV show. And now we stream that out to Twitch. So instead of just watching a POV or an over-the-shoulder shot that you might see in like a typical gamer stream, what we want to do is present something a little bit more cinematic and a little bit more curated, because we are trying to do kind of a cinematic theatrical experience. So our Twitch viewers get this really fun multi-camera view of the live show as it's happening. And because we're also interested in agency, that is giving audiences the ability to feel like they're part of the story, if you're watching on Twitch, you can just watch and enjoy the story and see the fun action unfold. But we've also created an interactive chat command system. Now, what that means is that in Twitch, just like in your wonderful stream right now, you've got your viewers and they can chat in the side. We have that as well. Our viewers can chat with each other while the meta movie is playing. But we've also created some interactive commands, and that means that if a viewer on Twitch were to type a specific command, like boom, for example, or scream, they can trigger an in-world sound effect live, right then and right there. A sound effect that we, as the actors and the hero and the Eyebots, we don't have any idea where that's coming from or how that's being triggered. So in that way, the Twitch audience feels like they can affect the story in some ways. They feel like they're kind of part of the story in some ways. They're kind of messing with us from the outside. Right now, we only have sound effects because we've just rolled this out a couple months ago. But going forward, we plan on having even more interactions available. Maybe they can open up a door and a creature might come out, or maybe they can take command of an Eyebot and vote to decide where the Eyebot goes. We have lots of ideas about kind of expanding the way that we tell our stories across as many different audiences as we can, and then exploring ways to give those new audiences some degree of agency and interaction in the story.
Thanks, Jason. Anyone in the live chat with a question for Jason as I move along with Jason, please put them where you have to put them in the live chat. I've said that before and I'll say it again. Jason, tell us what equipment must one have to star in a movie such as Alien Rescue?
Well, we run on the Neos VR social VR platform, and most people, when they play Neos, they use a head-mounted display like a Quest 2 or a Vive or an Index. Neos is a PC VR platform. That means that it is not compatible with just a plain old standalone mobile unit like a Quest 2. You have to have a powerful VR computer, and you have to connect that headset onto the computer. So if you have a Quest 2, you can use a cable or an Airlink. But our graphics, as you saw in the trailer, are pretty detailed, and you can't render those types of graphics on a mobile headset. So if you want to do Alien Rescue in the full VR version, you just need a Quest 2 that's tethered to your VR PC, or you need something like an Index or a Vive. But of course we do, as I mentioned, we do offer audiences the ability to play in desktop mode if they want. It's not quite as immersive, but a lot of people like playing in desktop, and any PC will connect to Neos VR. We are not Mac compatible. Unfortunately, Mac is not quite caught up to the VR scene yet. And then of course, if you don't want to deal with Neos VR, you can then watch on Twitch. So, the most immersive is with your headset on. then we go to desktop, and then we go to Twitch.
Thanks, Jason. Speaking of the rendering power expected to be as part of your game and for the game or the movie to be displayed, I realized that your actors actually wear equipment that tracks the eye and the lower part of the face as well. So if they're emoting in the actual gameplay, you see it on the avatars as well, which is quite thrilling, really. So they're not just standing there moving their arms and their legs and the faces are frozen, but you can
Exactly.
you feel like you can actually bounce off whatever emotions that's coming through from the live actors themselves. That's
That's very important, because part of the mission that I have is discovering best ways to help audiences suspend their disbelief. What we mean by suspend disbelief, if that's a weird term for somebody, is falling into the story and really kind of letting the world drift away, and starting to care for those characters. So feeling empathy for the characters, or feeling a bond with those characters, like we do with all of our favorite movies, right? The movies that make us laugh, or make us cry, or the movies that we remember. Connecting with the character is a central part of suspension of disbelief. And as you just mentioned, it's kind of hard to connect to a character if they feel robotic, just like the kind of the pre-recorded animations that I never liked about early VR stories. Similarly, if the avatar itself is too low poly or low res, if the face doesn't really move and it's just kind of frozen, it's very hard to feel like that's your friend, or that you are rooting for that character, because you don't really believe them. The facial and eye tracking really helps us make a stronger connection. And as much as I like the face tracking, because it's a very new technology, it's really the eye tracking, honestly, that makes all the difference in the world. I have discovered that when you are engaging with another avatar in a virtual world, if that avatar has eye tracking on, and you can watch their blinking eyes, you can watch the way their eyes kind of dart around when they're thinking, when they're listening to you even, they might roll their eyes up to the left, or they might, you know where they're looking. You can tell if they're looking like down at your feet, or if they're looking right in your eyes. And so all of our actors wearing their avatars utilize this eye tracking. And our audiences all tell us all the time, they're like, the eye tracking makes me feel connected to the characters. So absolutely, that technology is really fundamental to what we're trying to do.
So feeling connected to your co-actors, your colleagues, your crew members, and the environment is very important. I'm just curious whether you have incorporated haptic feedback as well for... Yes.
We have not yet. I don't own any haptics devices. I don't own a haptic vest. I would love to. I know many of our audiences who have come through do own those devices, and it's just a question of us digging back into our experience and kind of reprogramming some of the coding, so that, for example, we have quite a bit of action scenes with laser guns, and we're shooting monsters, and we've got bad guys shooting at us. Certainly on our to-do list is adding all of that stuff into a haptic world. I think we're just we have a long list of things that we're experimenting on, and until haptics become really widely popular, there's not enough people with the haptics vests that to justify us building haptics into our experience yet. But it's definitely, you're absolutely right, that's just one more layer of immersion. And when the time is right, I know that we will be adding haptics for sure.
Wonderful. So you mentioned that Alien Rescue is built upon Neos, and for those who are not familiar with this platform, it's one of many social VR platforms. We're curious as to why you chose Neos out of the other social VR platforms.
Sure. I had been developing previous meta movies As I said, my project is experimental, and I've been working on it since 2017. So in the earlier years, 2017 through 2019, I was situated in another virtual world or social VR platform called High Fidelity. It was one of the earliest ones that came out, and I really enjoyed developing on there, but High Fidelity lost its funding and closed down in late 2018, early 2019. So I went on a little tour of all the different social VR platforms to see where I would move my project to next. And I looked very closely at Sansar. I looked closely at VR Chat. I looked at Hubs by Mozilla, and I looked at Neos. And they all offered various degrees of opportunities and challenges. One of my main goals was to create very detailed and very realistic avatars. For me, the avatar is the combination of the costume department, the hair and makeup department, and the casting department, because this is what your character is going to look like, right? So very, very important to me to get the avatar correct. And I asked my avatar designer, Chris McBride, some award-winning avatar designer whose work that you see in the trailer. I asked him, he went on the tour with me, and we met world builders and creators on all the different platforms and really did a deep dive. And I asked him what platform would afford him the best ability to make the most high detailed avatars possible. He told me it was Neos VR because of the way the platform is built. Essentially, unlike the other platforms that are available, Neos VR is an actual game engine. In Sansar and VR Chat, they're remarkable worlds, and I spend a lot of time in both of them. But there is one difference, and that is that you build all of your work outside of the application in Unity or Unreal, and then you bake it all, and you finish it, and then you bring it in, and you can look at it inside VR Chat and Sansar. But Neos operates a little bit differently. You can do that workflow, but you can also build inside Neos with their real-time collaborative building tools. And what that means is it means a couple things. A, it's very flexible with file types. So for my avatar designer, he could bring in any type of file he wanted, and Neos would instantly recognize it and allow him to use it. So that created a flexibility to his workflow that was that he really, really liked. The other thing, though, that really kind of cemented the deal, there's two other things. One was the flexibility with avatar design. The second was this collaborative world building tool. What that means is that for somebody like me who's kind of directing, I'm not a coder or a developer or a 3D model maker. You know, like a director working with a design team, if I am looking to build a space like a science lab, which I have many of in Alien Rescue, if I'm working on another platform that's not Neos, I can give some notes to a designer. They will go away to their home office and build the science lab in Unity. They'll load it up into VR Chat or to Sansar. We'll meet inside of it, and I can look at it, and then I can say, all right, these 5 things are amazing, and these 5 things I would like you to tweak. I'd like you to change the color of the wall. I want you to change the lighting from cool to warm. Can we shrink down that area 50%? Can we add 3 more doors over there? If I'm in another platform that's not Neos, that work can be done, but it's all going to be done outside of the app, alone with this developer, and then maybe in 2 weeks they're going to bring it back in, and I'm going to look at it, and I might end up saying, oh no, you didn't get the note correctly. That's not the color of the light that I wanted. That's not where the door should have gone. And so we've got this very long, somewhat clumsy process of iteration and review. But in Neos, they can build the thing in Unity, they can bring it into Neos, and then right then and there, together, all of us in that space, we can make all those changes live. We can change the lights live. We can add a door. We can shrink the space. So it speeds up the development process exponentially. And because you're all together as opposed to being on your separate workstations, there's a community feeling of 5 or 6 artists all together giving feedback and riffing on each other and brainstorming. So the development that's happening live is happening with a group of people and not just one person. You know, it's not the same as having a Discord chat as you're building and sharing pictures. You're actually building it live. So those two things were pretty fundamental and powerful reasons why I chose Neos. But the third reason was really the community. The community in Neos is just an amazing set of people. They're all really smart. Really, they're mostly it's a developer community because of the power of this engine. So it hasn't really caught on. It's not as big as VR chat, and it doesn't. Neos doesn't have as many just viewers or bystanders. It's really a lot of developers and programmers because they're utilizing this engine. So you get a lot of really creative, really smart people, and the vibe is super friendly because it's not Quest friendly. I don't know for sure. I know when I'm in VR chat, which I absolutely love, I tend to stick to private worlds because in the public worlds you get all these screaming kids and they're not necessarily behaved all the time. In Neos, because it's not Quest friendly, which is sometimes a downside because you can't have as many people, you tend to not get that demographic at all. So you can like go into a public world in Neos like not worried about kind of this riff-raff youth element running around. So anyway, that's a long-winded way of saying I developed in Neos because powerful engine, avatar flexibility, and great community.
What would you say was the main challenge in directing a project such as Alien Rescue?
I don't know if there's one main challenge to projects. I tell people sometimes, because not everybody really even understands. I bet a lot of your audience even watching is still like, what exactly is this thing? I tell people sometimes the process of making Alien Rescue is like making a feature film, directing a play, and making a video game all at the same time. It really requires a lot of attention in a lot of different areas, which is why I like it. I like a really good challenge. But the challenge of learning interactive game design and dealing with game designers, that was foreign to me as a traditional 2D filmmaker. So having to learn all that was a really fun challenge, but it was definitely a challenge. Herding the cats of everybody. We're a very independent, self-financed project, but we do have a lot of moving parts. We've got at least 20 people collaborating on the project, and so just keeping that group together. And then certainly financing. I mean, I'm a professor, and I financed Alien Rescue a few years ago through a $10,000 Kickstarter that I ran, and that money ran out like in 3 months. So finding ways to keep my team motivated while not being able to pay them really industry rates, that's really been a challenge for me as well. So there's been a lot, frankly, but all fun challenges, all challenges that I enjoy.
Yeah, funding. We do have a question about that from our viewer, Temple of the Divine Muse. Thanks for joining us. Temple of the Divine Muse wants to know, Jason, can you talk about how to monetize moving forward? What concepts do you see emerging for funding projects?
Oh, I love that question. So in many ways, I think my personal funding model for something like Alien Rescue looks similar to maybe a Broadway play, in that the experience when you do Alien Rescue, the critics have all said and the audience have all said it's a pretty powerful experience, like going to a really great play. You leave the experience feeling energized and feeling like, wow, that was something really, really special. So I believe that I've kept my ticket prices down really, really low because we are just starting out in this kind of industry. But the $30 ticket that you buy as a hero, I think is actually worth quite a bit more. But we're just too small to be able to charge much more than that. So I think as the VR audiences develop and VR becomes more mainstream, as my own experiences are able to kind of build out and get bigger, as I can get more audiences in, I would ultimately like to see a version of Alien Rescue that feels a little bit more like a Broadway musical, in that the ticket price is a little bit on the higher side, at least for the best seats, right? For the, you know, the cheaper seats can be a little bit cheaper, like the Eyebot is much cheaper than the hero ticket. And I would like to be able to bring in a lot more audiences. So if we could imagine what it would be like to be like on an epic kind of Star Wars scale adventure where you've got more than one hero. We're already experimenting with 2 and 3 and 4 heroes. To bring those in, so we can charge, you know, if I could charge $100 per hero ticket, and I've got 5 heroes in a show, and I've got 50 Eyebots at, you know, $20 each. Now we can start to really see some income coming in, and that's what I'm pitching to investors right now. Is that, you know, what we have right now is just the very earliest iteration of what I think this type of entertainment can be. And I think it's really possible. I think we've just got to, we're all in the early stages of VR development. So hopefully as VR grows up, my project will grow up with it.
Definitely. And Jason, I'd just like to direct our viewers to your website. I did take a screenshot so they can see where they can get information about Alien Rescue, show times, when the upcoming shows are, and all, where you can buy tickets and so on and so forth. There you go.
Thank you.
The metamovie.com, everyone. If you're interested, please go there and take a look. Thanks, Jason. So in our previous episodes on immersive experience, we looked at how this delivery platform makes a sizable impact on projects that focus on social change. The experience of, I've actually been there, the immersive experience is able to affect the call to action more than I just watched a documentary about it can. Jill, many worry about the experience of using VR, yet in your practice, it's a safe place. Your work focuses on innovative learning delivery methods to teach soft skills in a workplace, and VR has gained much traction there. What demographic do you typically work with, and why is a safe place such a crucial thing?
So I work for a very large corporation, and we use VR for teaching leadership development skills, as well as diversity and inclusion. And really what we're doing is we're simulating environments that you would be in, difficult conversations or situations that you would be in. And a lot of times when we used to do this in the classroom with role plays, and we didn't feel it was as authentic because you're just sitting there with a script and you're going back and forth in these role plays. But we wanted to, and also you don't always want to project how you really feel or your own fears with your peers, because you don't want them to judge you, right? So we were experimenting a couple years ago about simulating this in virtual reality so that you could just put your headset in and immerse yourself in these situations, talking with avatars in these conversations, and have a safe place where you could be yourself and be authentic and actually learn from it. So you, it may be a diversity situation. It may be a HR situation where you have to hire somebody or fire somebody. It could be giving feedback in a performance review. It could also be something like just leading in a very, very relevant to today, like leading in a very uncertain environment, and as well as negotiation skills and sales conversations and so forth. The other thing that we use VR for is not just in those simulations, but we also use it for collaboration. So similar to what Jason was talking about is having that co-presence with your colleagues. We are working still very remotely since the pandemic started, and we lost that co-presence with our colleagues. We're always on video chat, and we have, as they've now coined the term, Zoom fatigue. And I don't feel like I'm actually with my colleagues anymore. I just see them through, a video all the time. And I miss being with them in person. So when we're in a virtual reality headset and we're in an environment, a 3D environment in our avatar form, I actually feel like I'm there with my colleagues, you know, using the things that Jason had mentioned, like eye tracking, and I can actually see, you know, their reactions to stuff. And they're also a lot less distracted. You know, when we're on a video chat, we have a tendency to sit there and multitask, right? We're doing emails, we're checking our phones, we're checking Facebook, whatever, social media, Twitter, whatever. We're so distracted, we're such a distracted audience anymore. We're just used to multitasking all the time. And so what I love about the VR headset is that when I'm in there, I have no idea what's going on in the real world. I cannot check my email. No one can ping me. No one can, you know, get distracted by notifications on my phone. And I'm there. I'm present with the people that I'm in with the headset, and we can actually get work done. We're using that now for collaboration, training, productivity apps, like sitting there doing brainstorming, whiteboarding in VR. And it's pretty cool. There's a social element to it, like Jason said, like we have a community and we're able to, you know, have these private environments where we can get work done. And then also have just that fun element too. Like we do icebreakers in VR. One of my favorites is like we get onto this Mars environment. So we transported to a environment we would never be in before, kind of like Alien Rescue, like you, and then you, we do like questions like, would you rather, like, you know, and then transport ourselves around and get to know each other. It's kind of fun. So we have a lot of fun with virtual reality, and we try, you know, everybody is very stressed out with work and trying to you know, manage their work-life balance. And so we want to bring a little bit fun to work. So that's really what I've been working on in the last couple of years.
Wow, that's a lot more than I've been working on. I do have a picture that I took a screen grab of your video. It's one of your clients, or maybe it's an actress. Let's presume she's one of your clients in a situation, a session of sorts. Could you talk us through what's happening here?
Yeah, so we have, we did simulation on, well, 3 different scenarios, and one of them was you're kind of in an engagement meeting with your team, and you're trying to decide who you're going to bring into that project. And so we were trying to teach a little bit of like inclusive leadership. So don't always just pick the person that you know would automatically go for. Think about how you can give growth opportunities to other people, or bring other people in that that you may not have thought about in that hiring situation. So that's some of the stuff that we've been teaching in VR, is that inclusive leadership piece, and how to think about, you know, just your unconscious bias that you have when you're making those kinds of decisions.
So in many ways, not being able to judge the book by its cover has been very helpful. Exactly. In being more open-minded in a strange
Exactly.
way. Wow, I hadn't thought about that, but there you go. You know, the Metaverse has been the talk of the town a lot, and the place where AR meets VR is extremely favorable for collaborative scenarios. I am aware that you have used this mixed reality situation quite a bit in your work. Could you tell us a bit about this and how advantageous it has been for you and your clients?
Yeah, I mean, we use a lot of blended approaches to the way that we're working with. I don't work directly with clients in my role. I work internally to support our employees in you know, the way that they're working in their performance. So what you know, what we're really trying to achieve here is engagement. and being able to have better results. So, you know, like I said, when we're doing traditional learning, like classroom or e-learning, you know, there's a lot of distraction in there, or you don't have that safe environment to practice. So we use a lot of blended solutions or mixed reality to be able to do things. We use a little bit of augmented reality, but not as much. You'll see more augmented reality being used more in a technical training environment. So if you're in a manufacturing or something like that, and you know, you want to overlay some instructions on how to do your work, that's where a lot of the augmented reality. We use augmented reality for like silly things like scavenger hunts and stuff like that at conferences. But we mostly use VR for our leadership development stuff. Now, I'm pretty excited about the technology that's about to come out with VR headsets, and that's where I do a lot of research on the future of VR and the future of using VR in the workplace and our future of work. And so in my role as a learning innovator, I love what's coming, because what's coming in headsets is that mixed reality that is going to be so much more powerful than what we have today. And also the biometric data that we're going to be able to get. And, you know, that's a whole nother can of worms to open, is because when you start to be able to track more and more and more, you're opening yourself up for risk. So, you know, people are like, you know, they don't want the big brother, like everything being tracked and all their data. So we have a lot of conversations also about the ethics of VR and the ethics of the metaverse. So, you know, when we're when we're in conversations with our leaders and with, you know, people in the workforce, like what should we capture? Like, where is the fine line of what we're going to use that data for? So people are not scared to get into the headset and use it, or get into some kind of metaverse environment.
That's a very, sorry, can I have a question? Jill, I have a lot of questions, but I have very interesting the measurement of what you want to capture from the users. So what have you been using to measure the results and compare to the past used methods to teach, to make it obvious that they do have more focus of attention with the VR? And what about the ethics of that measurements that you've been using, if you're using any? How have you been dealing with that?
Yeah, great question, Jose. So really, what we measured is so let me back up a little bit to give you some context to how we actually went about measuring things. We actually did a study 2 years ago on the effectiveness of VR for soft skills and leadership development. It was the biggest academic study that's been done on it. And what we did is we measured, you know, but not just did people enjoy VR, but also were they able to perform better or apply things better doing their training in VR versus traditional e-learning or classroom. And what did it increase their confidence level? Did it, you know, we had like a pre-test and a post-test, where did they retain more information? Were they able to, you know, perform better and answer questions better after they'd gone through that VR training? So a lot of stuff that it was a lot of like assessment type of stuff, not necessarily data we got from the headset. We were able to capture in the headset like how long they were in the training, so how long it took them to take it. And then also we were able to see like how many times they went through the practice exercise or took the assessment to pass it. So that kind of information we felt comfortable with actually capturing. We didn't have headsets at that point. I think we were using Quest 1 that really were able to capture any of that biometric stuff yet. So that would be the future. Like if we have a future version of the study would be to capture more of that biometric stuff. But I think really what we were looking at is more of the learning retention and then also their confidence level. So what I could say is, and also like cost. So did it cost more or less for us to do training in VR, and also faster? So, you know, spending less time doing the training, because that's taking them away from doing their job, right? When we have to put them in training. So we learned from our study, and I can share a link to it. There's a website with our whole study in there, and there's like the executive summary, and then there's the 75-page report, so you can decide which one you want to read. But the VR learners were actually 275% more confident to apply their skills learned after VR training, because we were using it as an empathy machine, right? So when you're in VR, you're feeling it a lot more than if you were doing it in a classroom or just reading something on a computer, right? Or watching a video. So you were actually going through the simulation and feeling what that other person that you're talking to, that avatar, is going through, and you feel like you're there and you have that co-presence. And then the other one is that to the same line is that they were really 3.75 times more emotionally connected to that to that content than classroom learners. And also they were more focused. So 4 times more focused. We talked about the whole distraction piece. So that's a big thing that I have to deal with a lot when we're building training, is how can I keep people engaged so that especially in e-learning, like they're going to watch that video, they're going to read that content, and they're going to click next. How many times have you clicked on a video and walked out of the room just so you could get credit for, you know, getting that training done, when you're doing compliance training or something like that, you know, because you don't really want to do it, so you're going to do whatever you can to get through it really fast. And are you really actually learning anything? And so also what we found was that with e-learning you can do fairly quickly, but the classroom piece is you are pulling people out for hours. Sometimes they have to travel. They have, you know, then they're sitting in a classroom for hours or all day long. And so we were able to train the same concepts in VR 4 times faster than you can train in classroom. And then you also are removing all of that travel cost as well. So we thought, you know what, the cost of getting on a plane and hotel, you can pay for a high-end VR headset, mobile headset, in probably 2 or 3 trips. So, you know, and also if you're thinking about it, it's a little bit more environmentally safe too. You know, so thinking about our carbon footprint there.
How have you been able to convince people involved in the programs that you've put together and delivered, maybe not personally, but you know, that the company has constructed, designed? How have you convinced these people that it is a safe place? A lot of people seem to have trepidations about it, or who are reticent about stepping into a virtual environment.
I think the only trepidation that I really have to think about, or people come to me about, is more that they're afraid of the movement in the headset, and they're afraid that it's going to make them nauseous or dizzy. So a lot of people have trouble with 3D movies and 3D environments. And so they said, you know, they're not really afraid of getting in there in the environment itself and talking through situations, because there's no one watching them. So that's why they're okay with that, because no one's recording them as they're going through these simulations. But a lot of people have given us feedback, and it's getting better and better as the more technology is out there. I know they're trying to solve for that. All the people who are putting together VR heads is trying to solve for trying to reduce the amount of issues that people have with you know, getting seasickness in the headset. So that is something, like I always tell people, I'm like, and I'm not a doctor, so I shouldn't be telling people this, but I'm like, just take a Dramamine before you get in there. If you get seasick or anything, I'm like, just take a Dramamine and you'll be fine. So, but yeah, no, that's really the only thing that, and I'm also like, we've had a major challenge that we've had to solve for, that is our biggest challenge, where I have to actually share that with, leaders, is that the cost of the headsets, but also how do we distribute them. So, when you have a really large workforce, thousands of employees, so like, we don't want to invest in a headset for every single person, especially since the technology is rapidly changing. Is that technology that we bought today going to be obsolete in 1 or 2 years when the next headset comes out? So, they're looking at, that turnover as well. So that's been the biggest challenge, is like trying to determine how we can get the most out of our investment in VR, and building a library of content that we can use and experiences that we can use, and then also how do we secure our information. Also, security and risk is a big thing when you're inside of a company, is being able to have access to the games and the fun that you might have in your app store. So we use Oculus Quest, and having the fun games, but then also pushing our content to it. So there is an enterprise version. We have enterprise software where we can push our content to it. But how do we keep that secure? Because this is information that we don't want to get out to the public. So that's been the biggest challenge that I've had to solve this year, and also how to get headsets to people. So we actually have an inventory of headsets, and we ship them to our employees, and then they have to ship it back. So they have to keep it for about 30 days. But then you run into issues of like, it getting lost in the mail or breaking and all that fun stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of challenges, but I'm hoping, fingers crossed, in the future of the workforce, is that everybody gets a headset when they join the company, and it is just a typical work device, just like you would have your laptop or your mobile phone. And then you would have it, and you would use it on a regular basis. It would be part of your daily work, and you would get into your headset, and maybe you're going to get into a collaboration session for an hour a day, or do some learning, or do something fun in your headset every single day, so that investment is worth it. So that would be Jill's ideal world, and who knows, I think we're going to get there at some point.
I have a
We're
feeling
definitely gonna get there. Yes, we are now in the time that I think you're a bit younger than me. Maybe you didn't use it when the first mobile phones were getting used around. You remember that big Motorola that's like a brick? That was my first mobile phone, and I think we are in the same age for the headset. Once we get to the point where the technology is good, well enough, and established, and everybody's gonna have one for sure.
Well, I mean, I've been at the forefront of like the next emerging tech or innovation in the workforce, in workforce tech, in workplace tech, in learning tech. So, I was there when we started doing stuff in Shockwave, and then Flash for interactive, animated e-learning, because before that we didn't have anything. And then mobile learning was the next phase, and everybody was saying, nope, you're not going to be able to do something on your phone like that. We were still using Blackberries then, and so it was like that, there's no way that you're going to be able to like take a e-learning course on your phone. And now look at where we are, right? So it's, I say just wait a few years, and don't shoot it down yet, right? We're at this is a revolution, and we're at the infancy of it, and so it is going to get better. That technology is going to get better. Virtual reality has been around for a very, very long time. This is not a new concept. We we didn't just see it in movies. I remember as a kid going to a museum and playing some kind of, I think it was like a soccer game or something in virtual reality. I was in Canada, and they had a green screen, and they had you put a virtual reality headset on, and you got to kick a soccer ball. So I mean, this has been around for many years. We're always tethered, and now we can do it untethered.
Thanks, Jill. Any more questions, Jose? Any questions from the viewing audience? Everyone's been so quiet. That means concentration's at work.
I actually have a question for Jill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jill, talk to us about what platforms do you run your experiences on? Do you make your own bespoke content and ship it out to the store, or do you use any of the available social VR platforms? It sounded like Engage might have been something that you use, because you talked about the Mars, and they have a really great Mars rover experience over in Engage.
So Engage is one of the ones that we use, but Mars is actually in another app called Arthur. And then we also, so we're not doing a lot of social stuff yet. We don't have a public Metaverse yet in my company, but we experiment with VR chat and then Decentraland on desktop. And then we have, we also use a lot of third-party content, so kind of off-the-shelf stuff that has been created, and a lot of low-code, no-code solutions to build.
Cool.
So there's a few different authoring tools out there that are similar to what we that we would use for creating our e-learning, but now they have kind of no-code, low-code solutions for VR as well. So using 360-degree video. And then we also have our own Unity developers in-house as well, so we can build custom VR experiences. But those are not on the App Store. This is all stuff that we just use internally.
Sure.
So we have a back-end system that allows us to manage our devices and push content to them behind our firewall.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions for Jill? No, nothing from the viewing audience? Thanks, Jill. That was very informative. I learned a lot myself.
Really good.
Yeah.
Really interesting, Jill. Yeah.
Very
Please share
good,
that.
thank you.
Please share that study too. I would love to. I teach using VR at my college, and I'm as an early adopter like you, I have a lot of obstacles trying to get people to understand the power. And so some of those stats that you mentioned from your study, I would love to show my colleagues.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
It definitely has helped, and I'll be actually speaking at a learning conference in Orlando in November on this topic of the learning conference put on by the Learning Guild.
Great.
First
Thank
week of
you.
November. So yeah, there's some really interesting stuff out there, but it's a lot of people don't think, everybody thinks of VR for gaming and don't really think about it from a workplace standpoint or a productivity standpoint.
Absolutely. If there are links to any of the data you shared that you could put in the live chat for anyone else who might be also interested, please, that would be really be very generous of you. Thanks, Jill. I'd like to look them up as well. Thank you. So picture this, everyone. We'll move on from Jill to Jose. Picture this: simulated programs of haptic gloves teaching medical surgery with precision. Next picture, VR hand app that gives positive reinforcement in rehab. Now picture this, a simulation that replicates the emotional tension in an ER. I've got a little clip to show you.
Doctor, this is a 7-year-old female who started developing a rash and difficulty breathing at a Chinese restaurant.
Doctor, please help my little girl.
My belly hurts!
Doctor, I heard wheezing on my exam.
Doctor, what do you want to do?
Please help my little girl.
Code blue, lobby main entrance. Code blue, lobby main entrance.
Doctor, what would you like to do?
Doctor, please help me, little girl.
Code blue, lobby main entrance. Code blue, lobby main entrance.
So the Chinese restaurant syndrome strikes again in that video.
I guess Jason was very expected. Yes, it's very immersive. And that's the best thing in virtual reality. You feel the tension, you feel there. And you see, Jason, it's not...
I almost had a heart attack. That was so scary. That was terrifying.
And it's not any close to the quality of your work, but because it's the situation. With little avatars like those, you do feel you're there, you do feel the tension, and you're training yourself with that. So that's the best part of the
that was
virtual.
awesome, man. I mean, I was just watching the video of it, and my pulse shot up. That machine, that sound, you know, the lady screaming, and the kid, like the audio cues alone were ratcheting up the tension and making it like really, really stressful. I can't imagine if I was in an HMD in that room, and I was looking at all my options. That was a great video. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. That's from the i3 simulation. It's a company in London. They are doing this resuscitation VR system for medical education, and we are translating it into Spanish and to our local protocols here in Barcelona. That's how we're doing the work with them, which is very, very good.
For those who are interested in the viewing audience, that situation, that scenario, the user is the lead physician. So if you are the one donning the headset, you're the lead physician in a situation where the patient is showing signs of pediatric anaphylaxis, if I'm not wrong in the pronunciation. Thanks, Jose, again for the clip. But definitely that tension was beyond palpable. I could feel it, like Jason was saying, and the constant turning of the head of the user. I was thinking of what Jill said earlier on. You start to feel a little strange. I could, even though I wasn't the one with wearing the head mount display or the headset, but I could sense it from this constant yo-yo type feeling, you know, right, left, and that made it even more frantic as well. You start to feel like you had to do something, you know, your blood pressure was going up. But so Jose, why is VR so significant in medical training or situations such as the one we just watched?
Well, for once, I think a lot of points. The security, because if you want to do a medical simulation, you need to be in a safe environment. And if you're doing it in VR, you're not going to punch yourself or break a leg, not only for yourself, but for the patients. If you most medical education happens in real life situations. You get the residents and the students, and they are doing practice in real patients when it's a real life situation. So it's not really even a simulation. But for the simulations with dummies or with actors, of course, it's very it costs a lot, so the costs are very lower, and you can repeat as many times as you want to if you have the simulation in virtual reality. I think those 2 points are very important, the cost and the safety.
What results have training facilities received from patients of medical programs that use VR? Do you know? Are you aware of them?
What? Sorry, I didn't.
What kind of results training facilities have received from participants? I mean, of such programs, medical
Well,
programs.
there is so many around the world. Yes, because as I'm working with educators in VR, we're doing a lot of events to promote all kinds of apps and simulations that are around the world. And there are really many. You have a lot of surgical training in VR. That's amazing. You can not only teach, but you can really proceed doing the surgery by distance, which is amazing. And then with the soft skills, that's something that Jill knows a lot. It's very important for training for not only the medical staff, but everybody involved in the healthcare system. You know, even for the administration staff that's facing the door and the first contact with the patient, they need to know how to deal with hard situations, and the soft skills training in VR is very important. So
a lot of people I know are probably concerned that you don't get the accuracy for something like, you know, surgical procedures with a cumbersome headset and controllers that look like, what are these things, you know? What would you say to them?
Yeah, but of course, as Jill said, we are in the very early stage of all this, and as she has this dream, I have my dream too, that in the future we're gonna have all the haptics that's gonna be perfect for proceeding all kinds of technical skills. That's something that's very limited yet, but you have a lot of surgical gloves that can actually proceed, and you have surgery happening right now with virtual reality by distance. So it does already exist. It's only very expensive, so it cannot be everywhere or for training everywhere. But it's gonna get there. It's gonna get there.
There you go. Viewing audience members, if you have any questions for Jose, please put them in the live chat. We're waiting. So Jose, you work in medical translations, but you're also a builder of VR worlds targeted at mental health issues. What inspired you to develop such a project?
Well, I work as a GP, as a family doctor, and in the last 3 years, because of COVID, everybody got a lot of burnout, not only in the healthcare system, but everywhere. But I see my colleagues very burnout, and it was very sad to hear from some of them saying that they were feeling like everyone that came to the concert was there for bothering them, and they were not really caring about what they're telling them. And that flagged me a red alert that I had to do something to help us. I was part of the group. And by that time, I was using VR. I was building some VR worlds and experience for meditation, because I use that for patients and for friends. And I decided to join the two things. And I developed this research project using VR meditation sessions of guided meditations in VR, because it's very immersive. And because it was something that completely takes you away from the situation that you are living at that moment. When you put on the glasses and you go to a different place, you forget that you had a fight with a patient 2 minutes ago. And you do only for that, you're already relaxed. And then because of the research project, you were having these sessions every week during 8 weeks, and it was already proven that after that you have some changes in the way your brain works and deals with stressful situations. So you learn this new skill of mindfulness, that's being aware of everything at the present moment. And then you leave the situation differently. You don't change the situation, but you change the way you live it. And that's the goal. And the results are very interesting, very good for now. It's still ongoing, but I'm very happy with that, and I'm happy to help my colleagues.
Yes, I do have several questions after showing some pictures that you sent me. This is Jose's Dream Island. One of several worlds that he's built, and this one is his meditation center that you built in AltSpace, another social VR platform, unlike Jason's, who used Neos. Jose used AltSpace. So let me just show a few pictures that you sent me, Jose. This is like the gateway to his Medi Center. And Jose was kind enough and generous enough to send a couple of his plans using Altspace, how he designed his meditation center island. And I've even got some of the actual island itself. How much does it cost to fly to that island?
Well, if you're part of the program, it's not expensive. It's all included. I try to do everything myself. I learned how to develop works in Unity and Blender and use the Metaverse. That's how I got, because of course, I work in a small health organization. We have a lot of funding for innovative projects like this. So I reduced all the cost of developing the project and the words and the experience myself. And even the guided meditation, I did it myself. So it's good because I know the final users. I know what they like. And I knew that they were like, they never used VR ever. And they even didn't know what that was about. So I developed something that was very simple and very easy to use to avoid any kind of side effects like dizziness. That's something that people are always afraid when they use VR for the first time. So one of the first, one of the things I wanted to do in the first project I did in the first work, that was this island. They just enter the island and they have two buttons to teleport to a seat, whether on the beach or whether by the waterfall. And they just stay there still, watching the environment and the waves or the waterfall and listen to the guided meditation. So they don't have to move around, which is mostly what causes dizziness in virtual reality. So, as you said in the picture that you showed before, there were the two buttons. And then after the half of the project, after 4 weeks, they were already used to use a little bit of the environment, even though they're not moving. I developed a second world that was a little bit more complicated for them. They had to move, following a butterfly to the next part of the environment to sit on the chair and listen to the guided meditation. So it was a little bit of, not only the project was also because for the future, I wanted to keep going using VR for medical education, and I wanted to have everybody used to VR, and they learn also how to use the VR environment during this project, which was also very good.
So I do have a couple more pictures. This is the chair on the island that resembles the chair the actual user sits on, reclines in. How did you convince your workmates or your colleagues to give it a shot? Were they also a little hesitant about something this useful without ever being VR users?
Yeah, well, there is quite a lot of already research about that. So it was because, of course, it's a very technical and scientific environment. The people there, they want to have proof before they invest on something. So because I'm happy for that point, because I do have a lot of studies around that. People show that mindfulness meditation works for burnout, and that VR works with guided meditation for burnout. So I had kind of proof that the concept worked, and also because the need of doing something was very urgent, and I did a lot of, or most of the development of the project myself. They just needed to buy the glasses, which are not expensive. So the investment was not big, and it was my time and my effort because I wanted to invest in something for the future.
What kind of comments did these users / colleagues of yours give you upon going through your meditation journey on this beautiful island?
They were very positive. There was no one had any business in the island. The second environment that they had to move, one person had a little bit of business, but I went a little bit far because the environment is like a crystal. It's like an icy mountain with crystals, platforms all around. It's a bit more sci-fi. Maybe I should have done something more simple, but anyway, so the positive was mostly not only the comments, they felt like they were there. They really did forget about being in the health center. They were on the beach. They said that the immersiveness was very important, and the face they had before and after. I should take pictures. I didn't do that, but for the next group, I should do that. Because when they put the glasses, like they come in from the work and they just sit on the chair, they put the glasses, they're like rushing. And when they finish, it's like they went to sleep. It's amazing, the change in the faces.
Do you think that there might be something in the future to resolve this experience of dizziness? Or are we thinking that we will have a demarcation between the folks who can naturally jump on a VR experience because they don't have this issue, and those who then have this issue and perhaps may not be able to participate like the rest?
Yeah, I think some people have more challenges than others, as anyway. Like if you use the mobile for a long time, you can get sore eye, and some people have more resistance than others. The same thing with the virtual reality. It's different for each one, but it already got very much better since the beginning of like 5 years ago. People could not be using for 5 minutes VR and they would get dizzy, but now the quality of the graphics, the way they do it, because the way they follow up the eyes, everything is helping to reduce this dizziness problem. It's getting much better already. So I think in the future it's going to be mostly solved, unless for some people they are more sensitive, and as always, there's some people that cannot use some tools in all kind of part of the world or whatever you use.
I understand. Anyone with questions?
I found that, sorry, I wanted to add on to that. I found that a lot of it has to do with visuals. So it's not just the headset itself. If you are, let's say, have vision impairment in one eye, and you're mostly just looking through out of one of your eyes, or what I found is with glasses. So when I had a headset on, my glasses were not really centered very well in the headset, and so that would create the motion sickness. So I actually bought lenses that magnetically pop into my headset, so that because I'm very visually impaired otherwise, and so I don't have as much of that motion sickness now that my prescription is in my headset.
Ah, there we go. Thanks,
Totally.
Jill. Jose?
Yes, yeah, totally agree. That's one of the things that got much better with the time was the graphics quality. And of course, if you have some kind of, you need glasses, you need to use them for virtual reality also, even though you need to see perfectly, but it does help.
We have a comment from a viewing member of the viewing audience, Sally. Jose, is this open to everyone, your meditation world? How can we experience it? I would love to try hard. So can we go to Jose Ferrer world to experience this? How do we get to your...
Yeah, well, the word... Yes, I was just trying to write her. Yes, the words I'm using for the research are not open to public. Of course, they're part of the research project, but I do have a lot of words for meditation, and they are open to public all the time in Outspace VR. I have some in some other platforms like Mona Gallery, but I mostly use Outspace because it's a very social and very available to any kind of device, and that's where I wanted to reach most of the public. Because I'm not doing something so professional like Jason. Of course, he needs the best graphic, and I understand I met a lot of very beautiful projects in USVR, but I needed to have something that was more reachable. So I use Outspace, and also because there is a lot of events there for education that I do. So my words there in Outspace VR, they are open for anyone. I think in both my webpage and in the YouTube and also in YouTube channel, they have the links for the works.
So your website was Jose Ferrer World, right? .com.
Yes.
If I'm not wrong. I'll type it in the live chat.
Okay.
I think I've got it right. World, it's world singular, wasn't it? Jose?
Let me
it's in
see.
the live chat.
Okay, you got it right.
Yeah, okay, good.
Say Ferrer. No, it's worlds.
Worlds.
In plural.
Right, Sally, it's plural. I wasn't sure, but I'll do it again. Here we are. It's plural now.
Yes, that's correct.
So I have a question for all of you. There are some, cynics out there, of course, who think, well, sure, you can accomplish that in the virtual world, but can they transition back to the real world with those skills? And of course, I'm thinking, all right, you put on a different appearance in a social event or a corporate event, and everything works really well because you're 6'2" and you're in a nice haute couture suit or dress or whatever. No pimples, the hair is really nicely put together, but in the real world you don't have those dimensions. So how would the experience in the virtual world actually can be brought home to the real world, and that feeling of confidence or surety or whatever it is that you gained then become a real asset to you? Or does it have you discovered that this is actually a doable thing, or have there been some failures?
Well, it's a life experience as anyone else. And if you have an experience in real life, in the conventional reality, let's call it like that,
okay,
you learn something out of it. And in virtual reality, if you have a good experience that's immersive, like the ones we're talking here today, you learn something from it for sure. You can learn good things or bad things depending on the where you leave it, but of course you learn something.
Jill, from your experience?
Yeah, I think that definitely there is a concern for kind of that imposter syndrome, whether you can take what you're learning in virtual reality and actually directly apply it to your actual reality. When the work that we're doing, I mean, you're stimulating and you're practicing conversations. So I think that you can definitely do that same. Ours is less about what you look like. In fact, some of our stuff that we do, you're showing up, as an avatar that is just like a robot head. So no one looks like that in real life. So, that it's more about the conversations that you're having, or the work that you're doing with, like, in our collaborative VR that is, brainstorming. So we don't run into that issue as much with what we're doing, although that has been conversations about, kind of the ethics of VR of, are you representing your true self in VR with the avatars that you can create? And then you also run into, kind of the metaverse, and this is like totally off the topic of training or collaboration, but in social situations, when you're in the, like, let's say VR chat, and you're, there's now articles out there about, like, dating in the metaverse. So right. I read these articles and I'm like, what does that look like? And are people showing up in these environments like we would on a dating app, like, and have a picture that doesn't look like anything like you in real life, and you're acting like somebody else, I mean, I don't have to worry about that, but it's just, I keep reading all of these articles about, the imposters they're in the metaverse, and, you're showing up as an avatar of an 18-year-old girl, but you're really a 50-year-old man, It's just kind of funny to me, but that's the things that you're going to have to deal with. And we've already dealt with those things, on the internet, in chat rooms and stuff like that. So just we'll have to continue to kind of have our ethical standards on that as well.
Thanks, Jill. Jason, I have a question for you. You know, there are parents out there who are concerned about their kids being in a virtual reality type environment, playing games and situations like that where they don't divulge who they are, and playing, in a game situation, so in an environment with other people in avatars who don't look like themselves either. How do you convince a concerned parent that your child is learning social skills, is learning life skills even? How do you tackle a problem that you encounter with a group of people? How do you work with other people, because it can be collaborative as well? And how do you bring home these positive skills with you, that it's not just a game and they're wasting their time and they should be studying, so on and so forth? Same old questions, I guess.
Yes, I mean, I think that's a very good point, is that, in some ways, the metaverse and social VR is not all that different from the social situations that we experience in real life. It feels new and it feels different because of embodiment in an avatar, because of the ability to kind of mask your in real life personality. But we've seen this for a long time already on the internet, in chat rooms and on social media platforms. I think education is so important. I really encourage any parent who wants to buy a device for their child to, first of all, they should experience some of the same apps and games that their child is experiencing. So it could be a really good co-learning experience for maybe a parent and a child to, let's talk about VR chat, which is kind of the elephant in the room when we talk about kind of political firestorms that can happen with some of the age mixing that we're seeing that really hasn't been quite modulated or figured out yet. This is where I think the big concern comes in, is, you've got a 10-year-old who is potentially hanging out in a social situation with a 40-year-old. That is novel. We don't really see that type of thing happening in real life. And so that is I think it's a really valid point for a parent to be concerned about, because this is a situation that has not really been replicated. We just don't, there is no analog to that in real life. And if I was a parent, I'd be quite nervous about that. So I think, number one, it's about the parents themselves have to take responsibility and have to educate themselves. So I would love to see a parent and a child touring through VR chat together, so they can both see, what is this all about? What's happening here? What are these behaviors that we're witnessing? And then maybe you can have a talk with your child about, okay, if I'm going to give you permission to navigate in this way, there has to be some ground rules. I mean, I remember as a kid growing up in Oakland, California, in a very kind of quiet suburban neighborhood, and I wanted to take the bus to Berkeley, California, or I wanted to take the train to San Francisco when I was a teenager. And my parents were like, look, you're not old enough to do that yet. You can, next year you're going to do that. And when you do that, we're going to have a talk about what it means to kind of go out into the real world, where it's a big, scary city, or in an environment where you're not with us and we can't protect you. I think those conversations and those that type of oversight is lacking at the moment. I think there's a lot of evidence that these kids that are in these potentially unsafe situations, they haven't had that conversation, or that parent isn't caring or thinking about it hard enough. And I think there's a lot of responsibility that has to fall on the parents, and certainly the developers of these situations as well. They need to take really proper steps. And you see this, you see every social VR platform is taking steps and is monitoring it, but it's all happening in real time. This is an experiment that it's happening now, and and these companies, it's quite lucrative. I mean, VR chat does not want to age gate their user base. That would be financially a disastrous decision for them. So you see the common complaint in VR chat is, well, why can't they just age gate it like they do with a movie or a video game, and have to show proof of age to be able to go into certain worlds. So it's an ongoing, complex and fascinating, I think, conversation to have.
Thanks, Jason. Anyone in the viewing audience with questions? If not, I have a final one, unless Jose, Jason, Jill, you have questions for each other.
Yeah, there was something I wanted to ask you, Jason also. Jill, and I have a question for everyone, but we don't have time right now. Well, I'll start with Jason because I didn't ask yet, and I wanted to do. So I know VR. I know you use VR because it's the best one with the graphics. But do you have plans to maybe open up your your experience to other platforms to make it more available?
It's money is the only object there. I mean, I have friends in alt space, and I have a friend who actually built a little mini version of Alien Rescue of our spaceship in alt space as kind of like a fan tribute. And I've had friends in VR chat ask if I would consider developing or porting over Alien Rescue to VR chat. And I've had conversations with other people about doing a standalone version of Alien Rescue that exists maybe as an app on the Quest store or something like that. And my answer is I would love to do all of that, but I'm self-financing all of this, and so unless I have some investors out there who are willing to help me, I'm just limited to my own resources at the moment. So I'll be in Neos VR for a while, but if time and money were not an obstacle, I would probably be building in other spaces as well.
Jose, please ask your question to Jill, and then I'll conclude with mine.
Yeah, sure. Just like Jill, I wanted to ask for the simulations you do for the soft skills training. Do you use are they all animated avatars with pre-recorded dialogues, or do you have actually actors that are interacting with the user in real time?
Yeah, excellent question. So most of the stuff we have is pre-recorded voice actors that are dubbed over the what we call virtual humans, so that it's kind of choose your own adventure kind of thing, based on what your response is that you're given. It'll take you down that path, and then that avatar will respond to that. There is some vendors that use live actors too, and we do use that vendor as well. So you could either one to answer your question.
Thanks, Jill. So here's my question, my final one. Unless someone out there has got one, I'll give you 90 seconds. Because that's how long it takes for our signal to get from here to you. 90 seconds counting. Here's my final question. Where do you guys hope VR will go, or will be, or would have landed in 3 to 5 years? Your dream hope. Let's start with Jose.
Okay, so I have already said a little bit that I think VR is going to be more common than a mobile phone in the future, and we're going to be using it for not only for education, but for treatment, for healthcare, for mental health. It's going to be part of everyday life like the mobile phone is now. I think that's the future.
Jason?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we all just really desperately want this to be a revolutionary device that is in the hands of everybody. Certainly, we want them to be affordable. We want them to be smaller and more lightweight, so it's very easy to take a unit on and off your head, like maybe a pair of glasses. We'd like to see some form of the metaverse kind of happen. My preference would be lots of little mini metaverses as opposed to one big Zucker metaverse.
Yes.
But for somebody like me whose experience relies on a tethered PC VR device, I would really like to see a very high-powered computational unit in a mobile headset that is comfortable and affordable.
Thanks, Jason. Jill?
Yeah, so I echo everything that Jason says, because that's a big challenge of ours is, having these clunky headsets. But I also see it from like a social standpoint as well, and how we're actually, and I think I mentioned this before, like what my ideal world would be is that everybody would get a headset when they join their company, and that they're actually doing their work and productivity in VR. And I see this happening in the next 2 to 3 years, where with the mixed reality headsets that are coming out, you have a physical keyboard in front of you, and you are actually working on your laptop and on that keyboard, but you also have a headset on. And so you're in that headset as your virtual avatar, but you're still working on your laptop as well. And we can do that today. It's a little clunky, but I see it happening a lot easier in the future with the way that the technology is going. There'll be more mixed reality. I also envision, like kind of in a sci-fi movie way, that I am like at my stove in my kitchen, like cooking, and I can be on a VR headset and, you know, talk to somebody like, and they can coach me through like how to make something for dinner, or I could like say, hey, call mom, kind of like I do with my Alexa, and like I'm in my headset and we like end up in some virtual world, like in an avatar, and mom and I are like hanging out virtually. You know, so I love introducing this technology to like all generations. And so, you know, my kids, my parents, whatever, all generations will be in these virtual worlds, like interacting, because we're all distributed in different locations.
Thanks, Jill. Once again, if Jose, Jason, Jill, if you have resources or research that you would like to share with us, please type them in the live chat, you know, links to. Or if you can't quite remember what they are, you can email them to me or message me, and I'll put them in the actual blurb that will come below the video when it's archived. It's your choice, but I'm sure all our viewing audience members would love to have a read or review of all the things that you've talked about, especially access to the research that you have shared with us. Thank you again so much to the three of you, Jill Kirtland, Jason Moore, and Jose Ferrer, for being with us. Jose especially because he joined us from Barcelona, Spain. You are now somewhere in the mid-afternoon. You've missed your siesta, Jose.
Yeah, they did.
But
thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. It was lovely.
But we
Thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Jill. We hope you all enjoy yourselves. I might get you guys back again in the future to talk about some of your wishes, to see if your dreams came true 3 years later or something. Maybe a year later.
We actually did that at work recently, where we kind of created our own like virtual time capsule. We said this is what the future of VR and the Metaverse is going to be in 3 to 5 years, and we said we're going to archive it somewhere and you know, open it up in 3 years to see if any of our predictions came true.
Well, that's my invitation to the three of you anyway. In about a year or so, I will say, let's come back and talk about it. Well, we hope you've enjoyed yourselves on this live stream. Thanks again to the three of you. We wish you exciting projects ahead, and may all your dreams come true. And of course, to stay safe. And here's a virtual applause for all of you. You stay there. Viewing audience, you've been wonderful too. I hope you all enjoyed yourselves. I see some new ones. I didn't get to say hello to you, but hello from all of us. Hope you had fun as well. Of course, I want to mention my music. If anyone's interested in my music, I have a Bandcamp store. You just type my name in and you'll find it. It's that easy. I hope to see you at my next livestreams. Bring your friends too, and take care. Till then, let's all wave at our viewing audience members. Jose, Jason, and Jill. Thanks to the three of you, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Jose, Jason, and Jill, you just stay put. I'm going to just say goodbye to everyone with my outro. Everyone take care, stay safe, and have a great day or great evening, or if it's nighttime for you, good night and sweet dreams. Bye.